couple of very new, very interesting crystal ball selections have been put in favor of your Alabama Crimson Tide.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, Ryan Williams, already arguably the best player in the 2025 class, wide receiver from your old neck of the woods in Mobile. He's just amazing at Saraland. Seen him play. He's fantastic. Everybody loves him. But a close second in terms of receivers for the 2025 class is a kid named Jamie Ffrench, who a lot of people love. He is very good wide receiver. They seem to have a friendship, and Alabama's picked up a couple of crystal balls in favor of Jamie Ffrench, seen here with Ryan Williams, who either has an extremely small head or a very big hat.
Let's go with small head, because that makes his story so much more interesting, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Jamie Ffrench is he's really, really good. I mean, if it wasn't for Ryan Williams, that's the thing about when you're signing let's overuse the term generational talent, but that's sort of what Ryan Williams is. It sort of makes everyone else look pedestrian, but there is nothing pedestrian about Jamie Ffrench. In most years, that kid might be the number one wide receiver in the entire nation, but he's stuck in the Ryan Williams class, so he certainly won't be considered that. But he's really, really good. He's from Jacksonville, Florida, an area that Alabama has recruited fairly well. It's far away, but it's not that far away. Still, it's impressive that a kid from Jacksonville, Florida that can sign with anyone in the country, Georgia, Ohio State, any of them. He likes Alabama, and he's been pretty adamant about that from the start at BOL and on 3. We are confident in projecting Jamie Ffrench to commit to Alabama. That's going to be sometime in July, but that's where we're leaning. When we're submitting things to the RPM, that's where it's going to be, to Alabama. That's based on what we know right now. Now, there's a whole nother month, and things can change in recruiting, but as of right now, we feel really good about Jamie Ffrench, who also, for those that don't know, spells his name sort of interesting. There's 2 F's. I mean, it's pronounced French, just like French fries, but he throws an extra F in there. So one of them's silent, I guess. Rupert?
I unmuted, then remuted, and now I can't even get back to me. Before the good people at Locked On got on to us, we used to throw a few extra F's in there.
We did. No extra F's here anymore.
So that would be a heck of a duo. I mean, that would be about as good of a wide receiver duo as you could possibly have. Meanwhile, another guy who is crystal ball to Alabama, and apparently he's going to be committing around July 12th. This going to be Casey Poe from Texas, seen here, about to give you a hug like your least favorite aunt. He is a huge human being, and apparently he will be committing to his favorite school July 12th.
Yeah, we think that's going to be Alabama too. On a little bit of a roll after the big recruiting weekend, Casey Poe is really good. This is a guy that is arguably, he's not ranked there yet, Luke, and I don't know that he'll get there, but he's high enough in the rankings to argue that he may be the number one interior offensive line prospect in the whole country in the 24 class. That's interior offensive line, guards and center. It'll be interesting to see. Is he going to play center? He might. He's got a lot of center traits. I think most people project him at guard. That's probably what I think he'll do at Alabama. Again, it's got a good football lineage, comes from a family of football players. Has liked Alabama a lot from the start. He can sign with pretty much anyone. He had kind of an eclectic final list, considering this is a kid that could have gone the Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama route. But he had a few other schools in there that he was interested in and took a long look at. But Casey Poe would be a pretty big-time pickup, not a 5-star, because as we know, guards, interior offensive lines, a position that sort of gets short shrift in the rankings. But in terms of where he ranks nationally for his position, he's elite. this would be a big pickup for Alabama, and we're confident at BOL that this is going to be what happens. Casey Poe to Alabama, but we'll see. It's not in the books just yet.
I know that he was certainly giving Auburn a big look too. But yeah, Alabama really wants this kid. There's no doubt about it. Any other recruiting tidbits from the weekend we haven't covered yet? I mean, those two crystal balls sort of coming out of – one was by a guy named Tom Loy, and the other one was by Steve Wiltfong, a Fong bomb. I don't know if I ever said that. Yeah,
Wiltfong works for 24/7, but he's highly respected in the industry. So you'll see a lot of – and in general, there is a bit of course, a rivalry between On3 and 24/7. It's competing networks, but that doesn't mean you don't respect some people that work for the other team. And Wiltfong's a good one. So I would say any crystal ball of his is very credible. So we'll see. I'm confident about both Ffrench and Casey Poe. Out of the weekend, Luke, it was a home run. There wasn't a kid who didn't rave about the weekend. We either made up ground or took a strong lead for virtually every kid there. I think another big story to me is Peyton Woodyard, the safety from California. From I think he's a
Bosco?
Bosco, top 50 probably nationally, somewhere in there. Like I say about kids like him, if you can commit to Alabama, Georgia, or Ohio State, and they've all got a spot for you, they all want you right now, Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State. A couple things to say about kids like that. To me, they're 7 stars. To me, they're like, that's as good as it gets. A kid that can pick up the phone and commit to Nick Saban, Ryan Day, or Kirby Smart, whatever he chooses on any particular day he wants. You're really good. And I think fans would be surprised to know how short that list is. I mean, that's a short list of kids that could commit to Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State. But Peyton Woodyard is one. As a matter of fact, he's committed to Georgia. Alabama's done a great job here. I don't think we're predicting a flip just yet, but it's looking more and more, gosh, I want to use the word likely, Luke. I mean, I think it's looking that good. I think it's that good with Peyton Woodyard very possibly flipping from Georgia to Alabama. It's definitely one to watch and something that could easily happen.
If Alabama were to flip Peyton Woodyard and DeMarcus Riddick, some Georgia fans would be shaking their fists just like this. Like if Micah
Debose was another player committed to Georgia that we basically have on some amount of flip watch. He's a 2025 offensive tackle prospect from Viger or Pritchard, committed to Georgia just after they offered him Alabama, then offered him shortly thereafter. And now Micah Debose has climbed the list of Alabama to where he's on that list of super high priorities for the Tide.
Let me tell everybody about Birddogs. Look, here at Locked On, we do what we say. These Birddogs make you look good. They have that stretch khaki designed to fit slimmer and give you that more sculpted look. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of that stiff stuff, the restricting cotton. Birddogs, they do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but they're a lot cheaper and they fit way better, frankly. And look, I'm going to show you. Like I said, we do what we say here. This is me at Yankee Stadium last Friday night with my son Walker. Yes, we just purchased 2 Yankee shirts for this game because I care nothing about baseball, and I just wanted to go to Yankee Stadium. We didn't even stay for the whole thing. Yes, we were that bad. I just wanted to be there. I did save the cups, but you can see that I'm wearing my Birddog shorts right there. And so we're not lying. I wear them everywhere. I told you I was going to wear them to Yankee Stadium. I wore them to Yankee Stadium because I love them, because they feel good. We're not messing around here. I mean, these Birddogs, you need to go get them. Go to birddogs.com/lockedoncollege, 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 and get you a pair of shorts or pants, or they got polos now. Go get you a polo at birddogs.com/lockedoncollege. You ought to go check out the live draft show for NHL. They'll have one of those on Locked On. Also, on the next few shows, we're going to be talking some more countdown stuff. I'm going to go off the beaten path for a minute here for 2 things. First of all, apparently tomorrow or today, I'm not sure when I'm going to put this podcast out. So it may be that it's tomorrow or it may be that it's today. It doesn't matter. None of that makes sense. But what I'm saying is apparently the ACC-SEC Challenge games will be announced. So Alabama, whose schedule is already, I mean, just a Jason and the Argonauts style schedule. I mean, it's just super difficult. They're going to play somebody good.
We're playing the Toronto CFL team.
What now? The Argonauts? Yeah, they do.
We're playing the Toronto CFL team.
We do. We're playing the Calgary Stampede. Can you believe it? In a pickup game.
Well, you said Argonauts. In the Toronto Argonauts, the CFL thing?
Yeah. No. I don't even know who else is out there. But so my question to you would be, who do you want it to be? I mean, look, I think it'll be, I mean, the obvious answer is going to be Kentucky in either Duke or Kentucky, North Carolina. Then my guess is it's going to end up being North Carolina, Tennessee. That makes some sense geography-wise, and both schools have been pretty good of late. I mean, obviously North Carolina's been good for a long time. But then you got to – are they going to count Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, those games that happen every year? Are these games going to count as that? I hope not. But maybe they will. What I don't want – let me tell you, I don't know who I want. I know what I don't want. Clemson. Not because I'm scared of Clemson. That just doesn't move the meter, If you want it to be Georgia Tech, okay, I can buy Georgia Tech. If you want it to be Miami or Florida, hey, I dig it. Miami's been very, very good. It went to Final Four this year. You want it to be, not Wake Forest, even though it would be cool to harken back to the days when James Robinson was kicking Demon Deacon butts. But I'm hoping for a Miami. I'm hoping for a boy. I would love it to be Duke. I don't think it will be Duke. Who do you think? Who should it be?
I'm just going to assume that they do this like the SEC Big 12 Challenge. And it seemed to me the SEC Big 12 Challenge, they would sort of look at the previous year and sort of do, okay, 1 verse 1, 2 verse 2, 3 verse 3. That's what it sort of looked like to me. I'm sure that's not 100% true, but largely true. And if that's the case, Alabama won the SEC, right? And won the SEC tournament. My guess is it's going to be Alabama versus the perceived number 1 team in the ACC. Is that Duke? I mean, I guess it's Duke. Didn't Duke win the ACC last year? Or was Duke the best team in the ACC? I mean, I'm not even 100% sure who won the ACC last year. Might have been Miami. So I'm going to guess Duke, Miami, Duke or Miami is what I would guess. I think they're going to match it up, Luke, like, hey, it's, you can't go back in history and say, okay, it's going to be Kentucky versus North Carolina. That's going to be the marquee game. Well, really? I mean, Kentucky finished 5th or 6th in the SEC, and Carolina didn't even make the NCAA tournament. I think they just go by what happened last year and just do a 1 verse 1, 2 verse 2, 3 verse 3. Well, and in that case, I would think Duke or Miami.
Virginia, Miami tied for it last year. Virginia, fine. I can live with that. I think Virginia, Auburn makes some sense, sort of a rematch of the of the Final Four game. That was pretty fun. But I'd be fine if it were Virginia. I'd be fine if it were Florida State or even Notre Dame, even though they didn't have a great years last year. I don't think that's where they'd put us. They could put us against Pitt. I could live with Pitt or even NC State. NC State doesn't fire me up as much, but I'm just hoping it's not Clemson. Clemson feels like the lazy pick. I don't want it to be Clemson.
I'll just make official prediction. There's no way for me to know, but I'll go official prediction: Alabama, Virginia.
I would like that. I would like that a lot.
Hey, it's going to be pretty good. It's not like you're going to. I mean, you might not like the matchup, but guess what? You're playing one of the top ACC schools. You're playing somebody pretty good. We grew up in an era where the ACC was just a lot better than the SEC. That is no longer the case. To me, the SEC is every bit the equal and probably better than the ACC.
One other thing to talk about, and our condolences to everybody who's an Arkansas fan and everybody who's a football fan. I mean, Ryan Mallett, I think he started out at Michigan. He was from Texas, and then he transferred to Arkansas, if memory serves. Isn't that right?
I don't remember specifically. I just remember him playing at Arkansas and he was extremely highly recruited, highly regarded, highly recruited. I remember watching his high school tape and loving him. Believe it or not, there was some talk at some level of Ron Mallett, Alabama. And so I remember
that. But he was at Michigan. I just looked it up. Because Rich Rodriguez came in, oddly.
He wouldn't be a fit in that offense at all.
But if you remember the 2010 Alabama-Arkansas game, that was a classic game. I think we won 24-20, and Mallett played pretty well in that game. And then we played him the next year. I don't think he was on that team. But Mallett was pretty good. Anyway, he unfortunately drowned, apparently either today or last night or in Florida. He was the head coach of a school in Arkansas. I mean, this is just awful news.
The Rip Current situation in Florida has been terrible. I've lived at the beach most of my life, and I was at the beach just very recently, and I know Luke does too. And I can't stress this enough because I see this all the time. We were in Fort Walton actually a few days ago, and the Rip Currents were bad. Double red flags. That means don't go in the water. And time again, Luke, I saw people go in the water. The lifeguards come blowing their whistles, telling people to get out of the water, and they get mad. They get mad that they're made to leave the water. And look how many people have died in just the past few days. Panama City had like 3 in one day. People, when there's double red flags, don't go in the water at all. The water is closed for your safety. And I think too many people just don't understand what a rip current is or what it means. But gosh, a lot of deaths this week.
35 years old. Sad. All right, Jimmy, let's take a break on that note. When we come back, we're going to get back into your countdown, and I believe it's time for my main man, Emmanuel Henderson. And we're back. Emmanuel Henderson is on your countdown. Emmanuel Henderson giving some Jimmy John's vibes. I mean, because he's sort of all over the place. I mean, he's not playing quarterback, obviously, but I mean, he's returning kicks. He's playing receiver. He's played running back. I mean, some people would love to see him as a light linebacker or a heavy safety. I mean, he's all over the place. Right now, I guess he's a wide receiver, and that's where he's going to be. I would love for him to develop into some kind of hybrid H-back, can play running back if had to, can play wide receiver if had to. The problem with that, if you're jack of all trades and you're master of none, it doesn't bode well for your NFL future probably. But Emmanuel Henderson is an amazing athlete. I just hope we find a place for it.
That's right. I mean, that's one of the reasons he's a wide receiver, not running back. It's an attempt to get him on the field. Here's I may end up having Emmanuel underranked here, where I've got him right around this 48 number. I think he's going to end up being the primary kick returner. And if you're a playmaking kick returner, you should be higher than 48. I mean, if you're returning kicks and you're a threat to house it, and I think he might be. I mean, that's something definitely to watch, and it's something fun. If you're an Emmanuel Henderson fan, I think you're going to see your guy playing a pretty prominent role. I think the issue is, where is he at the wide receiver rotation? Because wide receiver is such an interesting position at Alabama right now, Luke, because there's 6 wide receivers that look really good. Yet the position's sort of a question mark, right? At Alabama, the position's like, are we good enough at wide receiver? Yet there's 6 guys that all of us should be some level of excited about. Jermaine Brooks, Malik Benson, Jermaine Burton. Those are older, sort of veteran kids, not really counting Benson as a veteran, but he is a junior, the junior college transfer. And then the 3 sophomores behind him who are all really promising: Kendrick Law, Kobe Prentice, Isaiah Bond. So with those 6 guys, Henderson is 7th at best. And how much does the 7th receiver play? I mean, at Alabama through history, I mean, I'm not making this up. I mean, go back and look. The 7th wide receiver at Alabama doesn't play a lot, doesn't catch a lot of balls. So really, Henderson is probably going to play. He's probably going to play some with the 1. I think he's going to be the primary kick returner. To me, we're at that area of the countdown, Luke, where now everybody, to some extent or another, is going to be contributing to the success of the team week in and week out. And I think Emmanuel Henderson fits that definition. But is he going to be a prominent player in the wide receiver rotation? He's probably 1 year away from that. Very little to do with him or his upside. It's just, yeah, he's good. But is he Kobe Prentice? Is he Bond? Is he Kendrick Law? probably just one notch below those guys for right now. But let's see how they progress over the course of their careers. A lot of upside here at Emmanuel Henderson. And word from inside the building, by the way, is staff and even Nick Saban himself likes Emmanuel Henderson as a player a lot.
Well, I think you like him as a kid, too. Apparently, he's got a very good attitude, seems to be a very good person. And so you're pulling for him. But in the end, it's about winning football games. I hope that he finds a spot, too. I just don't know where it is. Boy, in the spring game, there was either a pass that he caught or a pass that there was some kind of pass to him that was intercepted, caught, dropped, or something.
He caught a touchdown pass on 8A.
The wheels were turning, it just wasn't clicking.
I think he caught a touchdown pass from Ty Simpson in the game. And Emmanuel is, again, good player. He's on track. Every reason to be excited. It's just wide receiver sort of tough to break in right now. The thing is, you just don't want to – you play a rotation of players. It's not a participation trophy. That's not why you play a rotation. You play a rotation of players because wide receivers have to run a lot of vertical routes and they get winded, right? So you don't want your best, second best, third best receiver out there running routes while they're trying to catch their breath. They got to sit for at least a minute to get caught back up. But if you're playing 7 guys, now you're playing your 4th, your 5th, your 7th guy is on the field, and your best 2 receivers are over there. They're not tired. They're ready to play. You don't want your best or your second best guys waiting their turn. They're catching their breath, and they need to be on the field because you're trying to win the game. You know, you're not trying to play everybody. You're not trying. It's not a participation trophy thing. So just remember that when I say about, do you really want to go more than 6 receivers deep? That literally means if Malik Benson ends up being our best receiver, and I think he will, we don't need a situation where it's the third quarter and we're playing LSU and the score is 17-14 and Malik Benson is completely rested on the bench because Emmanuel Henderson's playing a few snaps. I mean, no, we got to win the game. So that's what I mean about the size of the rotation. The length of the rotation is important, but it's to give your best players a break. It's not to give them all participation trophies.
Yeah, and, also in terms of everybody going, well, we're so stacked and so deep, you don't want to play that many because, it's not fair to take away playing time from the Malik Bensons and Ja'Cory Brooks and Jermaine Burtons just to try and play everybody. Let them get their numbers too. And they're better, apparently, if they're higher on the depth chart, so play them.
Hey, if it's 31-7, it's 31-7. But what I'm talking about in terms of a first-team rotation is what's going on when the game is in doubt, when the game hasn't been decided. You play your first team at all times until the game is decided. The first team, by the way, is not 22 guys. The first team's a lot more than that because Kendrick Law is going to play with the first team. Kobe Prentice is, Isaiah Bond is. That's great. But that's just a few snaps to keep Benson, to keep Brooks, not from playing while they're winded. And defensive line's the same thing. If our best defensive lineman this year is Jaheim Otis, that's great. But we got to sub for him. He's heavy. He's big. He's over 300 pounds. He can't just play snap after snap after snap. He's got to come out. And when he comes out, we've got some good depth guys. Damon Payne, Jamarian Latham, Jamil Burrows. They can come in and play a few snaps. But you're just trying to keep Otis fresh. You're not trying to just, hey, you know what? We better play Latham a few snaps. No, you're just trying to keep your best players fresh. That's why you rotate. You don't rotate so everyone letters. It's not the 1940s.
It isn't the 1940s. That's going to do it for today.
Sometimes I get a little bit of a rant because some message board post has me all fired up, because somebody said, oh, yeah, you got 7, play 7. Well, then you're playing your 7th guy, not your first guy.
That's
and
right.
The game's not decided. It's a different story. If we're winning every week 49-7, I'm not talking about that. Heck, them play Theo Jones-Bell and Preston and all of them. But I'm talking about while the game is in doubt and the game has not been decided.
That's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more Jimmy Stein Countdown and some other stuff. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.